Excuse me, but people like you don't belong in first class. Those were the exact words Monica Ellison heard before everything changed. A seasoned black CEO holding a paid first-class ticket, yet now being blocked by a smiling flight attendant guarding seat 1A like a fortress. The man in the seat, white, smug, and silent. His privilege spoke volumes. Phones began to rise, eyes turned. In less than 60 seconds, the cabin of Aerovista Flight 92 would become the epicenter of a corporate, legal, and moral reckoning no one saw coming. And it all started with that one line. Monica Ellison stepped onto Aerovista Flight 92 like any other seasoned traveler. Tailored navy blazer, discreet designer carry-on, and a boarding pass displaying the unmistakable stamp. First class, seat 1A. Her heels clicked softly on the cabin floor as she reached the threshold of the first-class cabin. She paused just before entering, scanning the row. Seat 1A was already occupied. A white man, mid-40s, expensive loafers, Wall Street Journal open on his lap, sat reclined like he owned the plane. But it was the uniformed woman standing just inches in front of Monica that brought the plane's temperature down several degrees. "Sweetheart," the flight attendant said, voice laced with forced warmth. "Coach is that way." The words landed with the weight of a slap. Not because Monica hadn't heard something like them before, but because in this moment they were said with a smile. A rehearsed smile. The kind meant to cover up something festering. Monica didn't flinch. She simply held up her phone with the boarding app displayed, the bold 1A glowing on the screen. "I believe this is my seat." The flight attendant, her name tag read Kelsey Langdon, tilted her head as if Monica had just asked her to explain rocket science. She didn't look at the phone. She didn't ask for a boarding pass. She just smiled again. This time, tighter. "Ma'am," she said, now louder, "this area is reserved for our first-class guests." Several nearby passengers turned their heads. Interest peaked. One of them, a teenager in an NYU hoodie, quietly tapped open TikTok and hit the Go Live button. Monica stayed calm. Years of boardroom showdowns had trained her to recognize the early signs of conflict and the value of not reacting too quickly. "I am a first-class guest," she said evenly. "My ticket was purchased weeks ago." Kelsey took a long breath, the kind that comes before a lecture. "I'm sure there's just been a mix-up. These upgrades happen all the time. Sometimes folks think they can just walk in here because of, well, assumptions." Monica raised one brow. "Assumptions? I'll just need you to return to your assigned seat while we sort this out." Monica didn't move. Across the aisle, the man in 1A glanced up. He didn't say anything, just smirked, then returned to reading his newspaper. His legs spread wider, invading the legroom of 1B as if to further claim dominance. Monica leaned slightly closer to Kelsey, voice low but clear. "I'm in my assigned seat. It's the man currently occupying it who is not." Kelsey's smile tightened. "There's no need to get confrontational." Behind Monica, another passenger whispered, "Did she just get told to go back to coach?" The NYU student stream had reached 87 viewers. Comments trickled in. "Wait, what's going on? She got first class and they blocking her? Yo, this about to get wild." Monica kept her stance firm, arms relaxed at her sides. "Let's check the manifest. Or scan my boarding pass again." Kelsey didn't budge. "Our records show the gentleman checked in earlier. You'll need to step aside." Still calm, still poised. But Monica's eyes narrowed just enough. "I'll wait right here while you do that. I'm not sitting in coach because of your records." Kelsey pursed her lips, then turned to wave over a uniformed staff member from the jet bridge. "We have a boarding issue," she announced loudly. "Possible mistaken seat claim." Behind her, the man in 1A muttered just loud enough, "Or a seat stealer." Monica turned slightly, fixing her gaze on him. "Excuse me?" He looked up again, this time locking eyes. "Just saying, I paid for this. Don't want to be late over someone's confusion." His voice was smug, calm, practiced. He was used to being listened to. The NYU student whispered into his phone, Okay, now the dude in the seat just called her a seat stealer. This ain't right. Viewer count, 243. The uniformed man arrived, early 30s, polite but clearly uncertain. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see your boarding pass. Monica handed over her phone and the paper ticket. He scanned it, his brow furrowed. This says 1A. I know, she replied softly. Let me just check the passenger manifest. He stepped aside. Monica heard him whisper into a radio. Kelsey smiled again, this time directly at Monica. We'll get it cleared up. In the meantime, if you could step back and let others board. I'm not moving, Monica said. Her voice hadn't changed volume. It hadn't risen. But something in the tone shifted, enough to make Kelsey blink. The man in 1A scoffed. This is ridiculous. What? She thinks she owns the plane? Another voice spoke up, this time from row 2, an older black woman in a green scarf. I saw her board through the priority line. She belongs in first class. Kelsey ignored her. The NYU student whispered into his stream. Lady in green just backed her up. This finna blow up. Viewer count, 692. The uniformed staff member returned, brows deeply knit. Ma'am, he said hesitantly, your ticket is valid for 1A, but the system shows Mr. Hale checked into that seat first this morning. Monica tilted her head. And that overrides my purchase, how? The man blinked. I'm not sure. Then find someone who is. Monica didn't blink. As the attendant's words settled in the recycled cabin air, she remained poised, shoulders relaxed, posture unmoved. Her voice, low, steady, deliberate, cut through the murmuring passengers like silk over steel. I'm going to show you everything, she said calmly, reaching into her leather crossbody bag with one hand while holding her phone in the other. First, she tapped open her airline app, Delta Blue, clean interface, and rotated the screen outward. Seat 1A. Status, checked in. Ticket, purchased. Next, she produced a printed boarding pass, premium cardstock, unmistakably official. Then a second screen, her synced calendar glowing brightly. Meeting, Senate Oversight Subcommittee, D.C., 3:30 p.m. Location, Capitol Hill. A third screen. Welcome, Ms. Monica Ellison. Your flight to Washington, D.C. is on time. She passed the phone gently to the staff member, whose face showed the weight of growing conflict. His fingers hovered nervously above the screen, then looked to Kelsey for direction. Kelsey didn't acknowledge the documentation. She crossed her arms tightly, her face slipping from polite professionalism to impatient dismissal. Ma'am, again, the system shows that he... She gestured carelessly toward Nathan, still lounging in 1A, was checked in first. There's nothing more to clarify. A sharp inhale came from behind Monica. The woman in the green scarf stood again, older, late 60s, regal in posture and voice. This is not how you treat a paying customer. I saw her board. She came through priority. She didn't sneak in. She's calm. She's not even raising her voice, for heaven's sake. Kelsey turned abruptly toward the woman. Ma'am, please sit down or you'll be removed from the aircraft. This doesn't concern you. The cabin went still. Monica's eyes remained locked on the screen in the staff member's hands. But her peripheral vision caught it all, the way Kelsey pointed her fingers toward an elderly black woman who had dared to speak up. The disrespect, the threat. The older woman didn't back down. I was a stewardess in 1976. I've seen this story before. It hasn't changed nearly as much as people pretend it has. The TikTok live feed exploded. Did she just threaten that older lady? Nah, bro, she better not. This lady's classy AF and they treating her like trash? Viewer count, 1,174. Nathan Hale finally set down his newspaper. Can we all stop this performance? He said, voice thick with condescension. Some of us have places to be. He adjusted his cufflinks, crossed his legs, and leaned back, as if Monica's very presence were an inconvenience disrupting his well-paid comfort. Still, Monica didn't engage him. Instead, she calmly took her phone back from the staffer and returned it to her bag. never once raising her voice. Then she lifted her gaze, meeting Kelsey's eyes. "I'm not moving, but I'm not here to fight. I'm here to fly." Kelsey looked over at Derek Monroe, the operations supervisor who had just entered from the jet bridge, clipboard in hand. He was tall, sandy-haired, the kind of manager who always looked like he was 5 seconds behind every crisis. "What's the holdup?" he asked, though he clearly had already been briefed. Kelsey leaned in, speaking too low for most to hear. Passenger claiming a seat that was already checked in. Possible confrontation. Derek looked Monica up and down. Expensive suit, polished leather shoes, not a hair out of place. And yet something in his expression betrayed a decision already made. He addressed Monica with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Ma'am, we're working to resolve the seating confusion, but I'd like to ask for your cooperation. If we could just move you to a seat in economy for now, we'll sort it out once we're airborne." There it was, the corporate workaround, the polite segregation, the illusion of fairness wrapped in policy. "No," Monica said gently. "You're asking me to give up a seat I paid for, to accommodate a man who did not. That's not a resolution, that's an endorsement." The older woman nodded from row 2. A soft murmur of agreement came from the back of the cabin. Derek's jaw tightened. "We're on a tight schedule, ma'am." "I'm on a tighter one," Monica replied, not blinking. Then she reached again into her bag, this time retrieving a hard leather card holder embossed with silver letters. She slid out a card and held it toward Derek. "Monica Ellison, Chief Executive Officer, Ellison Capital Group Federal Aviation Oversight Committee, advisory role." Derek's smile faltered, just slightly. "You may want to check your manifest again," she added softly. "Or perhaps the name tied to the shareholder group controlling 21.4% of your airline." The NYU student whispered into his phone, "She's the CEO of a capital firm? Bruh, this woman owns part of the airline?" Viewer count, 1,089. Comments came flying. "She played the long game. She's a boss. They done messed up. Bad." Monica tucked the card away again. No dramatics, no loud speech, just documentation and silence. Kelsey's arms dropped to her sides. Her confident posture had been replaced by hesitation. Monica turned once more to Derek. "I'm not moving. You're welcome to remove me, but if you do, you'll do it in front of 1,000 witnesses, a federal advisory member, and a representative of the firm your board depends on." For the first time, Kelsey looked unsure. Derek didn't speak. Silence held for 5 full seconds, 10, 15. Then a voice came from the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are completing final boarding. Please take your seats and prepare for departure." But Monica hadn't moved. And now the story wasn't about just one seat. It was about power, about poise, about a quiet refusal to be erased. The stillness that had followed Monica's calm refusal didn't last long. Kelsey snapped out of her stunned silence and turned toward the gate entrance. Her voice clipped, sharp. "Gate ops, we need security assistance in first class, now!" The words hit the cabin like a gunshot. A few passengers audibly gasped. Phones that had been lowered were raised again. More screens lit up. More cameras turned toward Monica, whose posture hadn't changed an inch. The NYU student hosting the live stream whispered into his mic, "She just called security on her. Oh, it's about to get ugly." Viewer count, 2,743. Monica glanced at Kelsey, then at Derek Monroe, who now stood awkwardly between them, as though realizing he was standing on a line drawn with legal ink. She said nothing at first. Then slowly, deliberately, she reached into her bag again and retrieved her phone. This time, she didn't show the boarding pass. She didn't pull up the calendar or email. She opened her contact list. "I'd like to make a quick call," she said, her voice unwavering. "Just to clarify a few things." Derek blinked. "Ma'am, now may not be the best." "It's precisely the right time." She tapped the screen. The name at the top was visible for a flash second to the passenger beside her. Senator Elaine Williams. Derek's face twitched. Monica didn't put the call through, not yet, but the implied message was received. "I'd prefer not to involve more people than necessary," she said smoothly, "but I will if forced." A rustle came from the cabin entrance. 2 uniformed security officers approached, one male, one female. Calm, but clearly briefed to handle non-compliance. Kelsey stepped forward like a prosecutor calling for order in a courtroom. "This passenger is refusing to move from a seat that is not hers. She's disrupting boarding and escalating tension with others on board." The male officer, badge reading R. Mitchell, glanced between Monica and Kelsey. "Ma'am," he said to Monica, "I'm going to need you to step off the aircraft with us while we sort this out. It won't take long." Monica turned to face him. Still no raised voice, no drama, just deliberate words. "Officer, I have no intention of being combative. I do, however, have documentation confirming this is my seat. It has been scanned, verified, and denied not by the system, but by a staff member making assumptions about me." The older woman in the green scarf stood again. "She's right," the woman said. "I saw the whole thing. She's not making trouble. She's standing her ground." The TikTok live stream exploded. Security really walking up now. "Bro, this is racial profiling 101. Someone call NOACP." Viewer count 4,538. Monica turned back to the officers. "If you still need to escort me, I won't resist, but I want it documented that I did not create this situation." Then she pressed the call icon. A quiet ringtone buzzed once, twice. The call didn't connect, straight to voicemail. Monica didn't flinch. She knew what came next would be watched, clipped, and analyzed in countless social media feeds. She addressed the camera directly. "My name is Monica Ellison. I hold a confirmed first-class ticket for Seat 1A. I am currently being asked to leave the cabin of Aerovista Flight 92 despite showing valid documentation. This is being live recorded, and I welcome transparency." Kelsey tried to interject. "Ma'am." But Monica turned to her and said, "I've shown patience. I've offered proof. I've remained silent while being insulted. You, on the other hand, have escalated this based on nothing more than appearance." Kelsey took a step back. The female officer spoke next. "Can we at least step aside from the aisle, ma'am?" Monica nodded. "Of course." As she gathered her things and stood, the teenager whispered into his stream, "They're making her move. This is disgusting. I swear I'm never flying this airline again." Then it happened. A white man in row 3 leaned into the aisle and said to no one in particular, "Bet she's pulling the race card." That one sentence shifted the cabin energy again. Gasps. Phones lifted higher. A ripple of indignation passed from row to row. Monica paused mid-step, then turned to face him directly. "No, sir," she said. "I'm not pulling anything. I'm holding onto my dignity." And some people, apparently, find that threatening. The crowd quieted. Kelsey muttered something under her breath and walked quickly toward the front of the plane. The older woman placed a hand on Monica's shoulder. "You're not alone, baby. You got all of us now." Another passenger, a young Latino man, stood and spoke loud enough for the entire cabin. "This is wrong. Straight up." Live stream comments. Passengers are backing her up now. Civil rights throwback live. She's not just fighting for her seat. She's fighting for us. Hashtag #Aerovista Racism hit trending status on Twitter in under 3 minutes. Derek Monroe stood motionless, caught in the eye of a storm now far beyond his control. But the storm wasn't done growing, because the name Monica Ellison was about to mean more than just a wronged passenger, and Aerovista had just picked a fight with the wrong woman. The female officer motioned gently toward the gate. "Ma'am, we just need to speak with you outside. It won't take more than a few minutes." Monica adjusted the strap of her leather bag and gave a small nod. She wasn't resisting, but neither was she retreating. The air around her carried the quiet intensity of a courtroom before the verdict. As she turned to follow, a voice cut through the silence. Strong, confident, measured. "Wait." It was Derek Monroe. His voice carried the forced calm of someone desperately trying to reassert control. "Before we proceed any further," he said, walking forward, "may I see your credentials again?" Monica turned, lifting an eyebrow, not in surprise, but in subtle acknowledgement of the moment. Without a word, she unzipped her bag and reached in with practiced ease. What emerged was not just a wallet or a boarding pass. It was a sleek, black leather portfolio, edges burnished, corners sharp, embossed with 3 silver initials, M.E. She unlatched the magnetic clasp and opened it like an attorney entering discovery. Inside were no frills, just business cards, folded legal documents, and one envelope marked with 2 government seals. She handed a card to Derek with 2 fingers. Monica Ellison, Chief Executive Officer, Ellison Capital Advisory Consultant, Senate Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, Senior Liaison, FAA Civil Rights Oversight Subcommittee. Derek's eyes scanned the card. His jaw tensed. His fingers twitched just slightly. Monica didn't stop there. She pulled out a second document, a folded briefing report stamped with the insignia of the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Aviation Administration. The top of the document read, Institutional Equity Voting Block, Aerovista Holdings. Prepared by Ellison Capital Classification, Internal Regulatory Council. Only one of the officers leaned in to glance at the heading and then quickly looked away, unsure if they were even supposed to be reading it. Derek's face had gone pale. "I'm not here as a passenger who got bumped," Monica said, her tone low but ironclad. "I'm here as an equity stakeholder preparing to issue an advisory recommendation on Aerovista's upcoming merger vote." She let that settle, and then added, casually, like it didn't matter, "My firm currently represents 21.4% of shareholder votes." Behind her, the NYU student whispered into his live stream mic, "Wait, 21%? Viewer count, 7,002. Comments, "She owns the airline? Y'all, she ain't just a lawyer, she's the freaking boss. Dude on the flight about to lose his job." Nathan Hale, still lounging in seat 1A, finally took notice of what was happening. He leaned forward slightly, newspaper forgotten, eyes narrowed at Monica. But he said nothing. The officers didn't move. Monica closed the portfolio and placed it neatly back into her bag. Then she looked directly at Derek. "You called security on a stakeholder during boarding. You empowered a crew member to override confirmed documentation. And now, you're moments away from escalating something that may end up in the morning's headlines." Derek opened his mouth, but no words came. Kelsey returned to the aisle, clearly unaware of what had just transpired. "Are we ready to remove her?" she asked. Monica turned toward her, gaze neutral. "Kelsey, is it?" Kelsey blinked, surprised to be addressed directly. "You didn't ask for my ID? You didn't look at my boarding pass? You didn't verify anything? You assumed. And in the process, you've now put this entire airline in legal jeopardy." The word legal hit harder than any insult. Passengers who'd stayed silent were now whispering to each other, sharing live clips, typing hashtags. One man leaned forward from row 5. "She's got government seals in her documents. Y'all better back up." A woman near the back shouted, "I'm sending this to my union rep. This is insane." Monica looked at the officers again. "I'll go with you if you insist, but understand that what you're doing is being broadcast. And if you escalate a legal situation involving a federal oversight advisor, there will be consequences." The female officer, clearly more experienced than her younger partner, raised her hand slightly. "One moment, ma'am." She pulled Derek aside. Their voices were low, tense. Kelsey hovered nearby, trying to listen. Monica stood calmly, hands folded in front of her. She glanced toward the NYU student's camera. "I've had worse," she said softly, almost too quiet for the mic to pick up. "But I've also seen what happens when people stay silent." That clip would later go viral. Back at the front of the cabin, Derek turned back around. His face was tight, measured. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding," he said, voice hollow. "Please, remain in your seat while we investigate further." No apology, just delay. But Monica didn't need an apology. She had something stronger: power and patience. She nodded and returned to her seat. Still not 1A, but for now, any seat would do. The story was no longer about a chair. It was about what came next. And Monica Ellison was only getting started. Derek Monroe's clipboard was gone. The mask of neutrality he'd worn moments ago was cracking. As Monica sat back down, still not in 1A, but in the aisle seat of row 2, she felt the shift. Not just from the flight crew, from him. His stance had changed. His words were fewer. His silence tighter. She'd seen this before. The moment a man realizes he's underestimated a woman and starts calculating revenge dressed in protocol. Monica adjusted the cuff of her blazer and glanced sideways as Derek moved toward the galley, speaking in hushed tones into his headset. But she didn't need to hear the words. His body language said enough. Avoidance, frustration, control slipping. The older woman in green leaned forward. "You know him?" she whispered. Monica didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at Derek through the reflection in the polished galley panel. And then it clicked. The name hadn't registered at first. Monroe. It was too common. But the face, sharper now under pressure, brought it all back. 5 years earlier. A pitch meeting at the Ellison Capital offices in Midtown Manhattan. Small, forgettable startup. Aviation-adjacent logistics. A confident young executive who'd come with flashy numbers, weak governance, and an entitled air. Monica had listened, nodded, taken notes, then declined the proposal with polite clarity. "You need oversight before you need funding," she told him back then. "This isn't a casino." The man had smiled stiffly. "I know you're tough, Ms. Ellison, but this will take off, with or without you." It hadn't. The startup folded in 18 months. Now here he was, standing in an Aero Vista uniform, clutching a tablet instead of a pitch deck. Derek Monroe. It wasn't just policy anymore. This was personal. Monica leaned back in her seat, lips pressed together. For the first time since the confrontation began, she felt something deeper than frustration. She felt calculation. The flight crew huddled by the cockpit. Kelsey, Derek, and the security officer, Mitchell, stood in a tight triangle. Monica watched as Derek showed something on his tablet, gesturing toward Monica with an expression that looked entirely too pleased with itself. "I knew it," Monica murmured to herself. The NYU student, still live streaming, picked up the movement. "Okay, y'all, now all the crew are talking. And that dude, the manager guy, he looks mad weird, like too involved." Viewer count, 8,486. Comments, "What's he planning? Y'all, this about to turn. This ain't just a seat. This a whole vendetta." Derek stepped away from the group and returned to Monica, this time kneeling beside her seat to speak at eye level. "Ms. Ellison," he said, voice syrupy. "First, I want to acknowledge that this has clearly become more complicated than anyone expected." Monica tilted her head. Complication tends to follow mishandled power. Derek's jaw tightened, but he kept the smile. "I've spoken to our team," he continued. "And while we understand you feel wronged, I do want to clarify. Boarding errors happen, systems glitch, staff get confused. It's not always about other factors." Monica raised an eyebrow. "You mean race?" He didn't answer. "I mean," she said softly, "it would be easy to assume that I'm making this about identity, but I'm not. I'm making it about fact, documentation, law." "I'm just saying," Derek replied. "We have our own chain of authority. You may be a stakeholder, but once on board, the airline's safety and process protocols take precedence, including the captain's final authority." Monica gave a tight smile. "Interesting. That's not what you said when you pitched me that B2B platform in 2019. The smile vanished. Derek blinked. "I didn't think you remembered," he muttered. "Oh, I always remember boardrooms full of bluster." His face flushed red. "That failed because of market timing." "It failed because you lacked compliance infrastructure," Monica said flatly. And now you're trying to manipulate protocol to save face. Again. The live stream caught none of this. Too quiet. But Monica leaned back, satisfied. This was no longer a debate over seating. It was a reckoning. Derek stood up sharply and turned to walk away, but stopped. "For your sake," he said without looking back. "I hope you're not recording this conversation." "I don't need to," Monica replied. "The truth has a way of recording itself." Kelsey approached then, clearly unsure how much she'd overheard. "What now?" she asked Derek. He said nothing, but Monica noticed the change in his posture. He was no longer trying to de-escalate. He was buying time. That was dangerous. Because men like Derek didn't like losing face, especially not to women like Monica, and certainly not in front of a camera. Meanwhile, the NYU student had caught a glimpse of the exchange. "She just said something that shut him down," he whispered. "She's not scared at all." Viewer count, 8,922. Comments. Was that a history between them? She ended his career twice. Plot twist incoming. Back at the cockpit, the captain finally emerged. Mid-50s, silver-haired, calm but alert. He assessed the cabin in seconds. When his eyes met Monica's, there was a brief flicker of recognition. Then protocol kicked in. Derek walked to meet him. They spoke in low tones. Monica knew what was coming. They were going to try to flip this, make it about policy, safety, chain of command. They were going to weaponize process as a shield for personal vendettas, and this time, it wasn't just Kelsey behind it. It was Derek. The third player. The one who'd waited years to tip the scales. But Monica Ellison had built an empire from reading power plays before they were fully written, and she wasn't done rewriting the ending. Captain Lawrence Martin stood still for a moment longer than necessary. 30 years of flying had taught him to read rooms faster than flight manuals. And right now, Flight 92's first-class cabin felt less like an aircraft and more like a courtroom with every phone as a witness. His eyes scanned Monica, the crew, the two officers still lingering by the galley, and then, finally, the man in seat 1A. Nathan Hale. Smug. Relaxed. Still scrolling through his phone like nothing happening around him concerned him in the least. The captain motioned Derek aside. Their exchange was tight, clipped, professional, but it was clear from their postures. Something wasn't adding up. Back in row 2, Monica slowly stood. The cameras turned toward her again. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't point or accuse. She simply cleared her throat, soft but purposeful, and addressed the cabin. "Since we're all gathered," she began, "I believe it's time we discuss why I'm standing while someone else is sitting in my seat, despite all documented proof to the contrary." Derek turned sharply. "Ms. Ellison, with all due respect." Monica held up a single finger, not to interrupt, but to pause, to signal the power dynamic had shifted. "Mr. Monroe," she said, with that lawyer's cadence, "I believe your passengers, crew, and superiors deserve clarity, especially considering the man occupying seat 1A. She slowly walked forward, not with aggression, but the calm presence of someone ready to deliver a closing argument. Monica stopped just beside Nathan. The man didn't look up. "For those who don't know," she continued, "this gentleman's name is Nathan Hale. His reservation, as I've been informed, was processed earlier than mine due to an apparent system glitch. Convenient." Now Nathan glanced up. His smirk returned. "Are we seriously doing this?" "Oh," Monica said, her tone cooling. "We're just getting started." She turned to face the row of passengers, including the NYU student whose live stream had just jumped past 10,000 viewers. "You see," Monica continued, "Nathan is not just any passenger. He's not just a man who happened to check in early. He's not merely a customer." She paused. "He's the illegitimate son of Aerovista's current board chairman, Everett Hale." Gasps filled the cabin, audible, sharp, as though someone had punched through the aircraft walls. Even Kelsey stumbled back a step. That's not." "Oh, but it is," Monica said smoothly, already retrieving another document from her leather folder. Confirmed in last year's proxy filings under closed board proceedings. Not public, of course, but some of us read beyond the headlines. The captain blinked. Derek's face went white. Nathan, finally rattled, stood up. "This is out of line." "No, Mr. Hale," Monica replied. "You being here is out of line." He took a step forward, suddenly indignant. "My ticket's valid." "And yet," Monica shot back, "you boarded without scanning your boarding pass. You were escorted directly through by a gate agent who never logged your entrance because protocol bends when family's involved." Live stream comments. "What? This the CEO's son? This corruption gossip." Viewer count. 10,984. Nathan glanced toward Derek for help, but Derek took a step back, hands up, as if trying to say, "You're on your own now." Kelsey was frozen, mouth open. She looked at Nathan like seeing him for the first time. I didn't know," she stammered. Monica turned toward her. "You didn't ask. You assumed. You enforced a system designed to protect people like him, but now you're realizing the shield doesn't extend to the truth." The older woman in the green scarf stood again. "I knew there was more to this. Always is." Captain Martin stepped forward. "Ms. Ellison, these are serious claims. They're facts, Captain, and I'd recommend verifying them before your crew commits another policy violation, because once this plane is in the air, any unlawful removal of a confirmed passenger becomes a federal offense." Nathan tried to speak again, but Monica didn't give him the oxygen. "Do you know how many times this exact situation has happened?" Someone of color questioned. "Documentation ignored, entitlement accommodated, and then the narrative turns. Suddenly, the person asking questions is the problem." She turned to the NYU student's camera, fully aware the moment would be clipped, shared, analyzed. "I've spent my career in boardrooms where decisions like this one are sanitized, buried in language about efficiency and process. But let's call it what it is." She turned slowly, letting each word hit. "Privilege, protected, prioritized," a beat. Then she added, "Until now." Viewer count, 11,449. The silence in the cabin was louder than turbulence. Captain Martin stepped back, pulling out his in-flight comms tablet. He started typing. Derek stepped forward but didn't speak. Even Kelsey was now trembling slightly. Nathan remained standing, but no longer smirking. He looked exposed, like the weight of generational protection had just been peeled back in front of 1,000 digital spectators. Monica sat down, still not in seat 1A, but taller than anyone in the room. She looked toward Derek. "We can still resolve this, but it starts with honesty." And just like that, the tide had turned. From ignored to central, from doubted to undeniable, and the world was watching. The cabin air felt thinner now, not from altitude, but from tension. Nathan Hale had returned to his seat, no longer lounging. Kelsey stood stiff at the front, eyes darting from Monica to Derek to the captain. The live stream viewer count ticked steadily upward, now past 12,100. Hashtags like @EllisonProtocol, #AeroVistaExposed, and #BoardroomJustice surged on social media. And then Monica's phone rang. The sound pierced through the silence like a gavel striking the bench. She didn't flinch. She simply turned the screen outward so those nearest could see the name. Charles Langston, CEO, AeroVista Airlines. The NYU student nearly dropped his phone, whispering into the stream. "She's getting a call from the CEO himself. BRO." Comments flooded. "This is it. Put it on speaker." "No way she answers that in private. No way." Monica answered, and did exactly what no executive ever expected. She put the call on speaker. "Monica, this is Charles Langston," came the deep, measured voice. "I have just been briefed about an incident involving one of our crew. First, let me say, on behalf of AeroVista, I apologize for any inconvenience you may have experienced." A few passengers chuckled bitterly at the word inconvenience. Monica's tone remained dry. "Inconvenience is not the word I would use, Charles. I understand, he replied quickly. This doesn't represent who we are. Our people are trained extensively. This must have been an isolated miscommunication. Monica cut in, polite but firm. Charles, before you continue, are you aware of who's occupying seat 1A? There was a pause, just a beat too long. I'm told it's a passenger who checked in early. Nathan Hale. Another pause, this time longer. I see, Langston said finally. I'd ask you again, Monica pressed. Are you fully aware of who Nathan Hale is? Well, I'm not involved in individual passenger arrangements, he said, tone defensive now. But I assure you, if someone has misrepresented themselves. Monica sat back in her seat. Charles, Nathan is Everett Hale's son. That's your board chairman. Silence. The NYU student whispered, Yo. Dead silence. He shook. Viewer count, 12,834. Comments, Yo, CEO didn't know? He's been lying, or he's incompetent. Boom! She dropped the family bomb on him live. I wasn't aware of that detail, Langston said carefully. But you called me to apologize. Yes, because I was informed of a situation where a passenger of importance. Monica's voice sharpened slightly, just enough to draw everyone's attention again. Charles, you didn't call because you cared. You called because it went viral. You called because you saw my name trending alongside your airline's ticker symbol. Langston stammered. I just want to make this right. You're not making it right. You're managing optics. The live stream blew up again. She's not letting him spin this. Monica for president. She's out here running corporate America mid-flight. Langston exhaled through the speaker. Look, we can issue a formal apology. I'll talk to PR. We'll address the situation after landing. Monica shook her head slowly, more to herself than anyone else. No, we're not going to bury this in a press release. There was a rustle on the line. Someone in the background, perhaps a legal advisor, whispered something. Langston's voice returned, more guarded. Let's take this offline, Monica. Monica smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Offline is how problems like this survive. Langston hesitated. Are you recording this? You're on speaker, Charles, she said, in front of over 12,000 live viewers and an aircraft full of witnesses. I'd call that transparency. The line went dead silent again. Kelsey looked like she might faint. Nathan had slumped in his seat, trying not to exist, and Derek Monroe was nowhere in sight. Monica tapped the screen and ended the call herself. We're not done yet, she said to no one in particular, but the words echoed through the cabin like a gavel striking twice. Viewer count, 13,289. Comments, she hung up. That's how you handle a CEO. Damn, we really not done yet. The captain approached cautiously. Ms. Ellison, are you comfortable proceeding with the flight? She glanced at him, eyes steady. I'm comfortable proceeding with accountability. Are you? He didn't answer. Back in row 2, the older woman in the green scarf exhaled deeply. That man tried to clean up a mess without ever acknowledging there was dirt, she muttered. Monica remained seated, phone resting on her leg, the call screen still glowing red from the ended conversation. The betrayal wasn't personal. Not really. She had never trusted corporate leadership to do the right thing first. But she had hoped, just for a moment, that perhaps this time would be different. And now the public knew better. This wasn't just mishandling. It was systemic preservation, a well-dressed cover-up unraveling live, strand by strand. And Monica wasn't finished pulling. The silence that followed Monica's final words was heavier than any turbulence. Phones remained aloft. The live stream viewer count ticked past 14,000. Passengers exchanged glances, mouths slightly open, as if trying to decide whether they were still on a plane or had somehow stepped into a congressional hearing at 30,000 feet. Then a voice, cool, measured, professional, cut through the air. I'm with the Washington Post. All heads turned. A woman stood up from row 4, black trench coat, hair in a loose chignon, holding a notebook she hadn't touched until now. Monica turned slightly, recognizing the tone before the name. "I'm Sarah Kim," the woman said clearly. "Investigative reporter. I've been documenting discrimination cases in commercial aviation for nearly 2 years. This is textbook." Kelsey paled. The captain stepped forward again, now clearly unsure of who in the cabin he actually had authority over. "I've seen it before," Sarah continued, her voice calm but charged. "A first-class ticket, a legitimate passenger, and a system designed to question everything about her before questioning its own processes." Nathan visibly shifted in his seat. "This is federal-level discrimination," Sarah added. "And it's playing out in real time, in front of thousands. You've got a reporter, a civil rights attorney, a viral live stream, and a CEO fumble already archived by the internet." Kelsey started to speak, but Monica raised a hand slightly. Sarah wasn't done. "You can try to minimize it," she said, looking at Derek, who had just returned to the cabin. "But this isn't going away. I've filed stories on this before, but I've never witnessed one like this. On camera, with documentation, and a legal witness whose portfolio spans a fifth of your shareholder power." Monica gave a small nod of respect. "Ms. Kim, I appreciate your clarity." Sarah nodded. "You've done most of the heavy lifting already, but I'll make sure no one reframes this as an incident. It's a pattern." Live stream viewer count, 15,403. Comments: "She's a reporter? Yo, this is going national." Federal level just became real. Monica stood slowly. The plane wasn't moving, but it felt like everything else was. "If we're naming facts," she said to the entire cabin, "then let me offer one more." She reached into her bag, pulled out a second folder, slightly thicker, with tabs and seals visible even from a few rows away. "This," she said, "is a class action brief in preparation. Title: Discriminatory Patterns in Domestic Aviation, a class review of equity denial based on passenger identity." Gasps, audible and raw. "I've been collecting data from over 200 documented cases across 5 major airlines. Dates, times, gate numbers, names, and the patterns are disturbingly consistent." She flipped the folder open, revealing charts, screenshots, printed reports. "Passenger of color, first-class boarding, challenged or denied, escorted out, sometimes even removed mid-flight. The same justifications every time. System error, boarding mistake, gate confusion. But the mistake always favors the same side of privilege." She held the folder high for the cameras. "This is going to the Senate Transportation Committee. I was scheduled to testify next week." Another pause. "Now I have a better example than anything in my prepared statement." Nathan shifted uncomfortably. Sarah Kim had begun filming discreetly. Not live, archived, edited for clarity and evidence. "I wasn't planning to share this in flight," Monica added. "But since Aerovista leadership tried to take it offline, I believe this is exactly where it belongs. Online, in public, where systems like this are least comfortable." Kelsey's voice cracked. This isn't fair." Monica turned to her. "Isn't it?" She didn't say it with venom. No anger, just gravity. "You made an assumption. You enforced that assumption with institutional backing. And now that the lens is flipped, you're uncomfortable. But I was uncomfortable the moment you told me people like me didn't belong in first class." The older woman in the green scarf added, "And the rest of us are tired of watching it happen." Derek tried to step in. "This really should be handled through corporate channels. Like you handled it 5 years ago?" Monica interrupted, eyes narrowing. He stopped mid-step. Sarah turned her camera to Derek now. "You've interacted professionally with Ms. Ellison before?" Derek hesitated. Briefly. "Were you aware of her legal credentials? Her stakeholder power?" "I don't believe that's relevant to this situation." Sarah's brow rose. "I think it's exactly relevant. You didn't just escalate a situation blindly. You did it knowing who she was. That shifts everything." Monica sat again, letting the room turn its own judgment now. And it did. Phones kept filming. Passengers whispered. The narrative had fully flipped. From suspicion to solidarity, from doubt to clarity, and from frustration to fury. Sarah Kim concluded, "I'll be requesting a comment from Aerovista's corporate office by end of day, but I have more than enough now to begin national syndication. Ms. Ellison, if you're willing, I'd like to interview you formally before the end of the week." Monica nodded. "You'll have more than an interview. You'll have a revolution." Viewer count, 16,287. Comments. She said what needed to be said. Corporate America ain't ready for this storm. Monica Ellison better change everything. In the front of the plane, Captain Martin cleared his throat. "Ms. Ellison," he said gently, "what would you like to do now?" She stood one more time. "I'd like my seat back." The request wasn't angry. It was a statement of rightful return. And not just to 1A, but to the truth. The quiet that followed Sarah Kim's confirmation of a national story wasn't relief. It was the pause before thunder. Monica stood once more, not as a passenger, not even as a legal expert, but as a woman who had reached the limit of patience and was now activating change. "Let's not pretend this ends with a seat," she said, her voice now low but commanding. "This isn't about a chair. It's about a culture, one that favors power over proof, perception over principle." She turned toward the cabin crew, then to Derek Monroe, who looked like he was trying to disappear into the emergency exit. "I'm officially issuing 6 non-negotiable demands to Aerovista Airlines, effective immediately. They will be documented. They will be sent to federal oversight, and failure to comply will result in legal and financial consequences beyond your current imagination." Gasps. Phones steadied. Even the captain froze near the cockpit. Kelsey looked toward Nathan like she might be sick. Live stream viewer count, 17,456. Comments. "Let's go. List those demands, Queen. Corporate death incoming." Monica lifted her phone, now set to record as well. A new layer of transparency. "Number 1, she began. "Effective immediately. The termination of all personnel involved in discriminatory escalation. That includes flight attendant Kelsey Langdon and regional manager Derek Monroe." Derek stepped forward instinctively. "You can't dictate staffing." Monica raised a finger. "You're not being fired because of opinion. You're being fired because of measurable action, failure to review documentation, abuse of procedural authority, and verifiable bias. That's not emotion, that's liability." Kelsey's eyes welled. Her mouth opened, but she said nothing. "Number 2, Monica continued. "Nathan Hale is to be permanently banned from all Aerovista flights, lounges, and affiliated properties." Nathan jolted upright. "What the hell? I didn't even..." "You impersonated a first-class passenger. You skipped standard protocol. You leveraged undisclosed familial relationships for unauthorized access. You're not a customer, Mr. Hale. You're a risk." The room was still. Monica took a step forward, her voice rising only slightly. Not angry, just unflinching. "Number 3, she said. "Aerovista is to establish a $100 million passenger equity relief fund, dedicated to compensating victims of discriminatory treatment documented over the past 5 years." Kelsey visibly swayed. Sarah Kim had resumed filming, her eyes wide. "The fund is to be administered by an independent third party," Monica continued, "with no internal oversight, and quarterly disclosures submitted to both Congress and public record." Comments flying. "She's making policy on a plane." "This is reparations in real time. 100-pound hours, though?" "Number 4, Monica said. "Mandatory federal oversight for 5 years. Real oversight. Not the kind that gets buried under memos. I want Department of Transportation compliance officers reviewing internal protocols, hiring practices, and gate-level training in real time." Captain Martin shifted uncomfortably. Derek tried again. "Monica, let's be reasonable." She turned to him sharply. "You made this personal 5 years ago when I wouldn't invest in your vanity startup. Then today, you weaponized that grudge behind a corporate name tag. So no, Derek, I'm done being reasonable." Monica took a slow breath. then continued. Fifth, weekly internal reports are to be compiled and delivered to the Senate Subcommittee on Transportation and Civil Rights, not monthly, not quarterly, weekly, until Congress says otherwise. The NYU student whispered into his mic. She's literally making Congress part of this airline now. I've never seen anything like this. Viewer count, 18,107. Comments. This isn't a call-out. It's a structural dismantling. Senate involved. Isso's game over. Get ready for CEO panic in 3, 2, and finally, Monica said, her tone dropping just enough to send chills. An internal audit and leadership overhaul plan is to be completed within 72 hours. No one spoke. You want to keep flying? You want that stock to recover? Then your leadership has 3 days to present a restructuring blueprint that includes representation, accountability, and policy enforcement from the ground crew up to the executive suite. Monica lowered her phone. Captain Martin cleared his throat. And if Aerovista doesn't agree? Monica smiled faintly. I represent 21.4% of Aerovista's institutional shares through Ellison Capital. I also represent the advisory firm for 2 pension funds currently holding merger approval votes. If these terms are rejected, we will recommend a full shareholder freeze on all expansion operations. Derek's face drained. Sarah Kim gasped audibly. That would tank their valuation? Nathan muttered. You're bluffing. I don't bluff, Monica said. I brief. Viewer count, 18,822. Comments. She is the board now. Yo, Delta who? This is Monica Air. Bluff. She just made the CEO tap out last chapter. Then, as if summoned by some dramatic cue, Monica's phone buzzed again. She held it up. Charles Langston, CEO, Aerovista Airlines. She answered, didn't bother with pleasantries. Yes, Charles? There was a beat. I've heard your terms. His voice came through, strained, tight. And? Another pause. We accept. All 6. A few passengers clapped. One woman near the back let out a single whoop, but Monica's face remained unmoved. I'll need written confirmation, delivered to FAA and congressional liaisons within the hour. Understood. She hung up, not with satisfaction, with purpose. Then she turned back to the cabin. Now, she said, I'll take my seat. The intercom crackled overhead, but no announcement came. The captain had stepped back into the cockpit, and the cabin crew stood frozen, eyes flickering between Monica and Derek as if awaiting orders from a new chain of command. And in a way, they were. Monica Ellison didn't walk back to seat 1A, not yet. Instead, she reached into her leather portfolio once more, this time pulling out 2 envelopes, thick, sealed, and marked with distinct headers. The cabin watched her with a reverence usually reserved for courtrooms or congressional hearings. These, she said, raising both envelopes for the live stream and the cabin to see, are 2 letters drafted in preparation for this exact moment. She held the first up. One recommends the approval of the Aerovista Air Nova merger, contingent on compliance with new civil rights enforcement protocols. She lifted the second. The other advises institutional shareholders to reject the merger, citing systemic discrimination, leadership failure, and reputational risk. Passengers murmured. Even those in economy, hearing only parts of the conversation, felt the weight of it. This merger, Monica continued, requires 67% shareholder approval. As of last week, you were hovering around 64.1%. She made eye contact with Derek, then let her gaze shift toward the forward crew phone. My firm, Ellison Capital, controls 21.4% of voting blocks. Live stream viewer count, 19,331. Comments. Holy, she controls the merger. Ain't no way Derek's still standing after this. She got letters ready and everything? Now, Monica said calmly, you have 60 seconds to decide which of these letters I send. She tapped her watch. The countdown had begun. Kelsey let out a strangled breath and leaned against the wall. Nathan looked like he'd aged a decade. Derek stepped back, retreating toward the galley, and every passenger leaned in. sensing the climax of something far greater than an airline dispute. Then Monica added, almost as an afterthought, "Of course, if no response is received by the end of the countdown, I'll assume the second letter will be required." Panic rippled through invisible corporate corridors, because 30 seconds later, Monica's phone rang. Charles Langston, again. She answered, but didn't speak. On the other end, voices scrambled. First Charles, then a woman, possibly legal counsel. Then another voice, likely the chairman of the board, cutting in and out. "Monica, please." "No," she said simply. "We're preparing the response." "You had days," she replied. "You knew who I was the moment your system flagged the passenger name on the manifest. You tried to silence it with a private call. You tried to bury it in protocol. We're cooperating." "You're reacting," Monica corrected. "That's not the same as leadership." 30 seconds remaining. Live stream. "This is the most boss move I've ever seen." "We counting down with her?" "Come on, Charles, say something useful." In the background of the call, someone shouted, "Tell her we'll implement the full protocol. All of it." Monica stayed quiet. Then came the breaking point. Another voice, this one more frantic, possibly the CFO, barked into the line. "We've dropped 4.6% in the last hour on speculative trading. We're losing institutional confidence." Monica ended the call, not out of spite, but because the clock didn't pause for panic. She lifted her wrist. 10 seconds. A ripple of camera flashes. Every phone in the cabin trained on her. Sarah Kim, notebook half full, whispered to herself, "This is history." Derek's voice came from the back, weak, desperate. "You can't kill the merger over this." Monica turned slightly. "I'm not killing anything," she said. "I'm offering resurrection through accountability, and you've used up every extension. 5, 4, 3. The intercom lit up. "Ms. Ellison." The captain's voice came through, unexpectedly steady. "You've just received a written confirmation through our operations desk. The CEO and board have accepted all 6 demands in writing and have requested a formal follow-up after landing." Monica raised an eyebrow. "Proof?" A printer sound buzzed faintly from the front of the plane, where a small cabin printer typically used for passenger manifests had just pushed out a single-page confirmation. A flight attendant, not Kelsey, brought it forward. Monica took the page, scanned it. Official letterhead, timestamp, signatures. She placed both envelopes back in her briefcase, unopened. Then let's fly. Viewer count, 19,847. Comments. She made them fold at 30,000 feet. I've never seen power like that. She didn't just win, she rewrote the rules. And for the first time in hours, Monica walked down the aisle toward seat 1A, but not alone. As she passed, passengers stood, not clapping, not cheering, but silently rising, acknowledging that they had just witnessed something far bigger than an upgrade. They had witnessed what it looked like when a black woman didn't just demand respect, she commanded transformation. The paper in Monica's hand bore the weight of a turning point. The letterhead at the top gleamed faintly under the cabin lights. Aerovista Airlines, Executive Compliance Office. Underneath, the formal language of corporate surrender laid out in bullet points the exact terms she had issued. 6 demands, 6 acceptances, 6 timestamps. She folded the document neatly, slid it back into her briefcase, and stood. This time, no one tried to stop her. No one dared. Captain Lawrence Martin reappeared at the cockpit door. He walked forward slowly, respectfully, not just as an employee, but as a man who knew when leadership had changed hands, even temporarily. He stopped at row 2 and extended a hand. "Ms. Ellison," he said with a quiet firmness, "on behalf of this flight, allow me to escort you to your rightful seat." The cabin erupted, not in chaos, but in a release of tension that had been building since Gate A12. Applause, slow, then growing. A woman in the back whistled once. The older woman in the green scarf stood up and placed her hand over her heart. And the live stream? It was now passing 20,000 viewers. The NYU student whispered, She's going back to 1A. Finally, finally. Comments. I'm literally crying. That walk to 1A is historic. This should be taught in law school. Monica didn't smile. She didn't wave. She simply nodded to the captain, adjusted her jacket, and stepped into the aisle. As she walked forward, her heels soft against the carpeted floor, passengers leaned back to give her space, not out of fear, but respect. One woman mouthed, "Thank you." A man in business class gave a single, solemn nod. Every screen turned toward her. Every eye followed. Nathan Hale sat stone still in row 3, his presence now a footnote in someone else's legacy. Kelsey was gone, escorted off the plane earlier by gate personnel. Derek had disappeared into an emergency meeting with legal. The path was clear. Captain Martin led her all the way to the front, then stepped aside at the entrance to row 1. "Your seat, Miss Ellison," he said. Monica looked down at 1A, the seat that had sparked an incident, ignited a movement, and nearly cost an airline its future. She placed her bag gently into the overhead bin, sat, buckled. Only then did she breathe deeply, not from exhaustion, but from arrival. She wasn't just returning to her seat. She was reclaiming position, presence, and principle. The live stream caught her first full exhale. Viewer count, 20,412. Comments. I feel like we just watched a movie. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear heels and carry legal briefs. Monica, 2028. In the galley, another flight attendant. Different from Kelsey, younger, eyes wide with both fear and admiration, offered Monica a bottle of water with slightly trembling hands. "Is there anything else you need, ma'am?" Monica accepted the water and replied with a calm smile. "Just a smooth flight." The woman nodded and disappeared. The NYU student, still recording, turned the camera back to himself briefly. "I just watched an airline get restructured in real time. Y'all better remember this day." Back in coach, passengers were exchanging clips, screenshots, hashtags. Some wiped tears. Others just shook their heads in awe. The older woman in green turned to Sarah Kim. "Did you get it all?" Sarah smiled. "Every second." "Good," the woman said, "because this ain't just news, it's testimony." Sarah tapped her phone, beginning the process of sending footage to editors at the Washington Post, knowing this was going to the front page. In 1A, Monica opened her tray table, not to eat, but to retrieve one last item from her briefcase, a single framed photograph of her late mother, tucked behind legal papers and letters of acquisition. She placed it on the tray gently. "I did it," she whispered. Not for validation, but to close a circle. Her mother had cleaned hotel rooms, ironed uniforms, taught her daughter that power wasn't always about speaking loudly, but about knowing when to speak with impact. This moment was the embodiment of that lesson. Captain Martin came back on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We thank you for your patience during this delay. Flight 92 is now cleared for takeoff. Please remain seated, keep your seat belts fastened, and enjoy your flight." But the passengers weren't just ready for takeoff. They were still grounded in what had just happened, and they would never forget it. A young black boy in coach asked his mother, "Who is she?" His mother leaned down and whispered, "She's someone who reminded the world that you can be calm and still be powerful." The boy nodded slowly. "Cool." As the engines roared to life and the plane taxied toward the runway, Monica closed her eyes for a brief second. She wasn't just flying. She was ascending. 72 hours later, at precisely 9:00 a.m. Eastern, Aerovista Airlines held a global press conference streamed live across 5 platforms. There was no flashy video, no dramatic music, just one logo glowing behind the podium in bold navy font. The Ellison Protocol, real-time civil rights enforcement in commercial aviation. Charles Langston stood at the mic, his tone humble, his posture straight, his carefully selected words betraying just enough fear to sound sincere. "Effective immediately," he began. "Every Aerovista employee, from gate agent to executive, will operate under the guidelines of the Ellison Protocol. Developed in collaboration with Ellison Capital and approved by Federal Regulatory Council, this protocol represents the most aggressive anti-discrimination system ever implemented by a US-based airline. Behind him on screen, bullet points appeared. Real-time passenger incident reporting app. Immediate alert system to legal and federal monitors, 24-hour escalation review process. Anonymous whistleblower platform, bias de-escalation training. Mandatory monthly audits submitted to the FAA Civil Rights Office, quarterly briefings to the U.S. Senate Transportation Subcommittee. Every news outlet in the country carried the story. And not because Aerovista suddenly cared about justice, but because a woman had made it impossible not to. Day 5. Major competitors, Air Nova, Stellar Flight, Horizon Airlines, each announced their own adoption timelines. Not because they were compelled to, yet, but because the stock market had spoken. Aerovista's shares had rebounded by 7.3% within 2 days of accepting Monica's conditions. Investor confidence surged. Consumer satisfaction polls skyrocketed. Hashtags like #WeFlyWithEllison and #ProtocolPower trended for days. Monica, meanwhile, didn't appear on talk shows. She didn't sit for interviews. She didn't do TED Talks. She went back to work. In her Atlanta office overlooking the city, she doubled the legal team at Ellison Capital's Civil Equity Division. Her team fielded thousands of emails, some from victims, some from CEOs seeking consultation, many from strangers simply saying, "Thank you." Day 30. Monica testified before the Senate Subcommittee on Transportation and Civil Rights. The chamber was packed. Cameras rolled. And for once, the room didn't feel like a formality. It felt like an echo chamber of change. She didn't read from her notes. She didn't need to. She told the story of Flight 92 in the same calm, deliberate tone she had used in Seat 2C while being asked to step aside. Only now, the room listened like it was a new gospel. "And what do you call this new enforcement model?" Senator Elaine Williams asked. Monica glanced briefly at her team seated behind her, then back at the panel. "We call it the Ellison Protocol," she said, "not because it bears my name, but because it represents what happens when silence ends and structure begins." The chamber rose in a rare standing ovation. Day 90. The FAA issued a national directive requiring all major U.S. airlines to implement real-time discrimination reporting systems based on the Ellison Protocol framework. Non-compliance would result in suspended certifications and heavy federal penalties. A new era had begun, and it was driven by a briefcase, a seat, and the refusal to yield. The awards began quietly, then gathered momentum. First, from the American Bar Association, for outstanding contribution to civil justice. Then from Fortune magazine, naming Monica, the woman who rewrote corporate culture at 30,000 feet. Then, the real one, the Presidential Medal of Civic Reform. The White House ceremony was televised. Monica stood in a navy suit, heels modest, posture impeccable. She shook hands with the president, accepted the medal, and said only this at the podium: "Change isn't loud. It's persistent. It doesn't knock. It opens doors. And when one woman is denied a seat, we all lose our footing. But when we stand, we rise together." Sarah Kim's articles won the Pulitzer Prize for public service. Her series chronicled the ripple effects of systemic accountability in the corporate world, starting with Monica's case and expanding to a national reckoning in aviation, hospitality, finance, and more. One article featured an interview with the NYU student, now graduated, now an advocate. "I didn't just film history," he said. "I watched it take flight." Within 6 months, discrimination complaints across participating airlines dropped 78%. Lawsuits reduced by nearly half. A new phrase entered corporate HR manuals nationwide. This policy falls under Ellison standard scrutiny. In Monica's office, her framed boarding pass from Flight 92 now sat next to a handwritten letter from an 11-year-old girl named Ava. "Dear Ms. Ellison, when I grow up, I want to be powerful and quiet like you. Thank you for fighting back without yelling." Nathan Hale, banned. His name became a cautionary tale in ethics seminars. Kelsey Langdon, terminated. Later spotted in a viral video applying for a retail job and being asked, "Are you the flight attendant?" Derek Monroe, under investigation for conflict of interest, no longer employed in aviation. But Monica never gloated. She never said, "I told you so." She just kept working. The Ellison Protocol expanded beyond airlines. It became a blueprint for bias protection in hotel chains, medical triage, university, housing, retail policy enforcement. One woman, one refusal, a whole new playbook. Monica stood one night on her balcony overlooking Atlanta. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from the president's chief of staff. "Would you be open to leading a federal task force on systemic reform?" She typed only 3 words in response: "Send the brief," and turned back toward the city lights, a soft breeze tugging at her blazer, her expression calm. Not because the fight was over, but because it had finally, truly begun.